All right, so welcome to this month's Marketing Mindshare meeting. For those of you who are new, although I think everyone's been here before, at least in some capacity, I think. Our mission here is to inspire excellence in communication and marketing and to encourage collaboration between businesses, organizations, and individuals within the chamber. And our vision and what we want to be creating here is a community of marketers that through education, collaboration, networking, et cetera, expands the capacity of all of our members in the chamber to achieve greater things for the benefit of the top of Virginia region. So when it comes to announcements, just want to give you guys an update on what we're planning on doing for the rest of this year, how we're kind of looking to reshape Mindshare. The committee met beginning of June to kind of hash things out about where things were, how we started, why we started, what our goals were, taking into account some changes, some wrenches in the plans, like pandemic, and the fact that we were not expecting to do this via Zoom. So thinking about like where we started, what our goal was when we first started, and then where we are now, and sort of both the people who are consistently showing up to these meetings, dealing with how do we work in Zoom, and also people want to get back in person, things like that. So we've basically settled on two primary ways that we're going to be going about this consistently. We're going to be doing networking meetings at least once a quarter. Those will be in person. Ideally, I'd like the location to kind of switch around, and I'd love to have, like if you have a big conference room and your work is totally fine with bringing in outside groups, I'd love to get stuff in businesses. If that's not an option, then West Oak seemed to work really well last time. They loved having us there. So I'll ask them if we can regularly have that there. That'll work when it's warm, and when it gets to be the winter months, we'll have to see what we can do. Maybe we can, I don't know, change the time around or something. But we want to get more networking in person. People are definitely ready to be meeting in person and seeing people face to face. So that was really good last time we did it. We did our first one last month in June. And it was a really good time. There was only a handful of us, like maybe half a dozen of us. And we just sat and got to know each other, talked about our backgrounds in marketing. And then we were able to dive into a couple people who were there, some like major problems that they're having with marketing. So it was a really good like brainstorming session too. So yeah, it was really good. And that's kind of how I envision the networking going forward. It's not just going to be like, trading business cards around, but it's also going to be sharing that information, sharing what helping people solve problems in their marketing in a very informal setting, much more informal than what we will be doing, what we've normally been doing with the educational side. The second thing that we're going to be doing on a regular basis, I actually put as a third point, is the more interactive education. We got some comments that people would like to do a lot more problem solving, like sharing best tips, so that it's more of like an actual mind share rather than just like one person presenting and then we have discussion. So we're going to be trying that this time with today's. Corey is going to be doing a demonstration of Canva. And then at the end, when we break up into our discussion groups, although I think we're just going to stick with one room because we have so few people, we'll be sharing, best tips on the subject with visual assets and developing graphics, go over problem solving, case studies, things like that. So it'll be a lot more interactive, a lot more back and forth discussion, brainstorming, less, one person presenting and then everyone else talking about it. And then the final thing is we want to do a vendor fair this year. Tentative month is going to be September. I need to talk with everyone else on the committee about that, see if that's still doable. All the details like location, time, date, all that is going to be announced later. We still need to sort all that out. But what we do want to do for sure, and the goal of this is to let everyone know in the chamber, really. So I want to open up to the rest of the chamber, know what options there are for help with marketing within the chamber members, because I know that there's a lot of talent and a lot of opportunities among the chamber members when it comes to marketing. But it's difficult, I think, to understand like how all the different pieces work together. So I want to bring everyone together in one room and show people how all these interconnected pieces work together. We're not always in competition with each other. We work together to help businesses with their marketing, their communications, and advertising. So that, again, will be coming, information on that will be forthcoming. That will probably be a little bit longer meeting, but that'll also be something we're hoping to get a keynote. And then you can just, after the keynote, come and go as you need to. So yeah, that's what we have planned for the rest of the year. And honestly, I think we're gonna stick with this probably for the foreseeable future, and maybe some tweaks here and there. But that's how things are gonna be changing. So with that, we'll move on to Corey's presentation demonstration thing. So Corey, I will hand it over to you.
Good morning and welcome to Marketing Mindshare. I'm Corey Campbell, the Director of Marketing and Communications here at the Top of Virginia Regional Chamber. And today I want to take you through something I never thought I would take you through. This is a Canva walkthrough. Pretty much if you've never touched Canva before, we're going to show you a quick brief into that. And if you also have a little bit more experience, we're going to work our way through a slight little progression to show you some things. So let's jump right on in. So today we're going to start with a template design. This is great for all those owner-operators who are wearing every single hat in your business. You've got some templates that are ready to go for you. You can go in, find something you like, find something that kind of goes with your brand identity, go in and edit everything that you need. So today we're going to talk about the 4 pillars that the chamber bases itself off of. What that is going to be is to be making connections for you out into the community, advocating for you at a government level, educating you guys so that you can see, hey, this is something we can do at any level. And at that point, offering some marketing. So what we're going to do is we're going to customize the picture behind this. So we've got our connect in there. We're going to upload our photo. This is something I pulled from the CLP graduation, just a real funny moment. We're going to pop that in there. We're going to move it around. So you can add a page, and we're going to get into that in just a second, but first we can go back and we can adjust this to our brand guides and get our colors in there so that it really looks consistent when you're getting this out into the marketing world. You also have some different options on images when you're using them. You can put some different filters. We're going to stay with the black and white on this because I thought it looked really nice, but there are even some different black and whites that you can play around with. So in this next slide, we're going to work on a little bit of an animated version of what we just did. So on our previous slide, it was stationary text. We uploaded our image. So we're going to go in, we're going to upload our image again. This one, we're going to talk about our upcoming marijuana forum, which is where some of our advocacy comes into. And we're watching this at a state level and we're passing this information along to you. We do have an upcoming forum on August 23rd at noon. It's a virtual seminar. It's really diving more into the HR side of things with marijuana legalization. Right now, we are going to go in, we're going to pull just a standard text template that Canva provides for us. So this one will work really well. We're going to slide it on over so it's out of the way. And again, this is an example of our advocacy piece. And we're just going to drop a logo on. That's something that you can do. You can simply upload that image just like you had in the past there. I'm going to pull off the side a little bit, and that looks good. So I'm going to go ahead and upload my next piece because these uploads do take a minute, and then we're going to go back and we're going to animate the text on our forum slide. Alright, so that is uploading right now. we are going to simply jump back on over and we're going to, like I said, animate that other text. We're going to come back and I'm going to show you what you can do putting a video behind that text to really just accentuate some things differently and really draw that out. So here we go in, and we're going to simply take some of the templates that Canva gives us. We're going to go up, we're going to click on the text, we're going to find our animate box, and there's some different options. You can scroll through those, see what you really like. So we've got that text moving. We're going to drop this video portion onto our next slide. Again, we're just going to roll back in. You can see that things are moving in the background. You can actually trim these videos, so I strongly recommend this, especially for a website where you know that there's rotational timing. And you can adjust that to what looks good for you. Awesome. So we are going to, at this point, go over and we're going to drop some text onto this image. Again, we're just going to pull a template to show you that there's some different things. This one looks good, nice and bright. So, and on this one side, we're going to talk about our marketing pillar. So you can change the sizing of the fonts. You can do it this way so you can really see it more in real time. Once you're done with that, you can simply grab that and drag it to where it's centered. And then again, you can do some different things of how that text comes in over top of that video as well. With this, we are going to make, we'll take it a little further. You can see that you can actually make some of these elements yourself. You're not just stuck with a stock video there. When you are grabbing your stock, you don't have to grab the largest file that's out there. This is something that'll help you as far as file sizes in email blast or on a web page when you're uploading this stuff. But get a good sized video. You want to make sure that the quality is there, but you don't have to have a 4K piece of stock because that's just going to make your file size really big for uploading. So on this one, what we had done is we had gone in and customized. Again, we're going to talk about those 4 pillars, but we had gone into Adobe After Effects, which is what you see here, where you can go in, you can change the fonts and things like that. You can change the text that's in there. You can change background images. We're going to just simply, I've got some of these loaded up, but we're going to drop that off. Boom, that's where your image pops up. You will see that you pull your main file, and we're going to go ahead and render that so that we can bring it into Canva. And we'll show you how we can work with that again later. But it's going to quickly render out. It's going to drop out in an AVI file, which is a huge, huge file. So after that happens, we're going to take it over to Premiere Pro. And we're going to kind of size that down and get it more into an MP4 video. So we've got it saving and rendering now. Boom, there it goes. I have sped this up. It does take a little bit longer than this, but this is what it will look like when it's rendering. All right, and that is finishing up. Like I said, we're going to, from there, take that file and we're going to move it over into Premiere Pro. We're just simply going to drop it in, take the sound of it off, and we are going to save that out as an MP4. And again, I sped this up a little bit just to save some time in the, our chat today. We're going to upload that. We're going to pull that video in. And again, it's going to upload. I speed that up so that it goes a little faster. And boom, that is uploaded and dropped into the Canva slide. This video came out a little bit larger than our slide dimension, so we're just going to adjust that and find something that's centered because that's going to work really well for our discussion today. And then at the end here, just for fun, we're going to go in and we're going to drop in our Top of Virginia Regional Chamber logo. This is something that I had animated. Similar, it's something in After Effects. Drop the logo in there, it rolls it out into this nice little animated logo. So we have got that uploaded now, and we are going to just drop it right here into our Canva slide. So a little bit of everything. You saw that template that we started with. That's going to keep standard text stationary. You can change the colors, you can add images. We have some text that can be animated on just a standard image. a little combination of both the animated text, the video background, and then taking things a little further. So if you wanted to drop in to After Effects, you can really customize, you can create images that you're looking for. So thank you. Thank you for watching today. I hope you really enjoyed it. I hope you learned something. If you need anything, reach out to me at kcampbell@regionalchamber.biz. I'm going to drop that into the screen right here for you. And don't hesitate. Just anything you need, just reach out.
That was impressive, Corey.
Well done. What a good teacher
Oh my word.
you are.
Oh, there's a reason to stay on that side of the camera. Acting and talking and that kind of stuff is not my forte.
It's very few people's forte, but the thing is, like, the people who have the knowledge are the ones who actually be on the other side of the camera, like in front of the camera. Oh, wow. Yeah, that was really good. So I have several questions, but I'd like to see if anyone else has any questions for Corey before I deluge you with mine. Okay, here's the first question. Was that all on free Canva?
Yes, obviously, except for
Okay.
the Adobe parts.
Yeah.
And the one thing that Janet and I were talking about a little bit earlier before everybody was logging on was getting teams involved in Canva and being able to pass those assets along. Or one thing that we've recently done here at the chamber is we're converting our pop-ups for sponsors and things like that into display boards, and so anybody would be able to. I can create a Canva template, kind of like you just saw. That if somebody changed sponsorships or did something, any of the team can actually access that and make a quick and easy adjustment. So that's actually one benefit of those things as well. I'm not sure. I'm not as much of an expert on free versus the paid Canva and how much of that is entailed, but that was a good point that Janet brought up earlier, was being able to share these assets as well.
Yeah, because like for our marketing clients, we predominantly use the Adobe suite, and so like we share stuff with the Adobe cloud. It's cumbersome because there's so many things that are tied to that one board. For instance, like with Illustrator, with InDesign, you have so many assets, especially InDesign, that's tied to the InDesign file.
Right.
And so it just takes up so much space. And so, yeah, having the Canva teams, we've played around with it a little bit, but now knowing like, yeah, that you can do a lot of nifty stuff in there so much faster than with Adobe.
It really is, even down to getting a new file or a new page, what they call it, to work with. I mean, it's just a click of a button, where even Adobe is, Adobe
add an artboard. Yada, 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 yeah.
If you really want to dig into, like, I want to customize every little aspect of it, to pop that QR code in at the marijuana forum, I definitely went into InDesign and put that in there as opposed to building that in Canva. So I don't think that there's necessarily a one size fits all for anybody. Canva is certainly, and like I said, I didn't think I'd be given a lesson on Canva. I grew up in the Adobe world. I was, just really immersed in it, and I really like that custom ability. But yeah, Canva can definitely hone a bunch of things in and really be a great solution for people who either are that owner operator who are wearing every single hat, trying to do everything that they possibly can, or even some more advanced stuff to just get things into storylines and storyboards.
Yeah, yeah. So with that, so the logo animation was in After Effects. The slideshow with the different photos, what was that done in?
That was done in After Effects as well. Okay. And that's simply because, again, that's where I'm comfortable. Doing something like that in Canva would have been tougher. You could have, it could technically be done, but it definitely would have been much tougher than and even in After Effects, they have a lot of templates that are available, kind of like stock pieces to get started with. So even that was a template that I just pulled, trying to not reinvent the wheel and just show it. Yeah.
Yeah. Nice. Yeah, so like the biggest thing I learned, I'm sure like the people on my team who actually do social media posts, which is not me, I'm sure they knew that you could use those text things, and that was like template text. I didn't know there were that many effects in Canva
There is.
on text, just text.
And even
Like
some for
that's
the
impressive.
photos in the background. I didn't get too far into that, but yeah, they give you
Yeah,
pretty good little options.
nice. So are there any questions? Emily, Karen in particular, because I know you guys are kind of the one-man marketing teams. Was this helpful? Do you have any questions for Corey?
So for me, it's actually ironic because I started with Canva,
Okay.
and then kind of moved over to Adobe. I started in college, like in my internships, because it was like a simple thing to do. And then I got this job, and then we used Adobe Spark primarily. The person, the marketing coordinator prior to me, but I've been kind of since the pandemic, since I was using my personal laptop, I kind of went back to Canva, and I realized how much I did enjoy it. I just feel like there's like, because I'm not totally immersed in the Adobe world. There's so many options, as you so nicely displayed. But so I'm not as familiar with it. Obviously, I want to learn it, but Canva I think is a really great tool for even the free version has a lot of options. You don't necessarily have to get the premium, which I think is really nice for people who are on a budget, who don't have all the marketing dollars to spend. But yeah, it was definitely nice to see like just pulling ideas from your presentation. I'm like, oh, that's a good thought, because I probably use it for like blog graphics if we do like something that's like not necessarily like totally like all of our brand colors, but just something kind of fun and different. I primarily use Canva for, but yeah, that video was very well done. So I was like, oh wow, this is cool. But yeah, thanks so much for your presentation.
Sure.
Yeah, and I appreciate that too. And Janet knows, she's been saying for years, use Canva. And we were not allowed to use Canva because we're not allowed to use any software that's not approved by Virginia Tech. Well, Canva finally got approved by Virginia Tech, so I can use it now. But in the meantime, I got more familiar with the Adobe products. I have Adobe Spark and Adobe Premiere Elements. But that's all because we have to purchase licenses. So I don't have any of the other ones that you mentioned. So I guess I'm still kind of, it looks like Canva has a lot more options and possibilities and maybe is easier to use. So my thing would be, is it worth my time to learn it? Because I've already learned everything else. So I've got to go back and learn a new system. Okay.
Sure. And so Canva does a couple things really, really well. They really simplified the game to make it, to really kind of take out that learning curve to it. If you're used to some of the basic elements and some of the other programs that you're talking about, you're going to jump into Canva pretty quickly and pretty easily. The one thing too that in kind of thinking about all this stuff that I really enjoy from Canva is the inspiration. Even before I was using Canva as really a tool, I would log in every now and then to say, man, I got to design a flyer, and what's a modern flyer look like these days, or like what is somebody else doing? So taking that inspiration from other people was really beneficial too, to get through kind of that initial writer's block, or that kind of wall that you kind of hit sometimes. And really today's presentation all happened because I got an email from Canva, and all of a sudden I opened up the email and things started moving in the email, and my little mind was just blown at that moment. Like, wait a second, they grabbed my attention right away, and then I started to realize, oh, this is something that can be utilized in a marketing world. Anything that moves, anything that jumps up and kind of grabs you is gonna grab you. And the other thing too I heard, and it really kind of put in some perspective to me, is motion can equal emotion. So meaning that when you're in video, when you're in even a GIF or things like that, you can convey emotions that are happy or fun, or this is going to be super serious. You know, you can bring those in quicker and tell that story deeper.
Great.
Yeah,
Thank you so much.
I love that point, Corey. I keep thinking over that Instagram is no longer a photos platform, which is challenging for me because I'm like, I love my Instagram photos. But it's true. I mean, the things that catch the attention and get the most engagement is the videos and or the boomerangs, the gifts, all of that.
Mm-hmm.
And it's uncomfortable, I think, for people who aren't familiar with how to make videos and make things that move.
Sure.
Because photos are so much easier than things that move, because you snap a photo and you upload it. Things that move, either like you have to get in front of the camera or you have to find something and put in front of the camera. But even just having some amount of motion. So I love how it's like motion creates emotion, not video creates emotion. It's like, you can, in all the different forms of communication we have words, we have writing. That used to be, primary mode of communication. Then it was photos and writing. And now it's video or some sort of video motion driven thing plus photos plus writing. And when you get people's attention with that motion, you capture their emotion with the motion, then you can pull them in with something that takes a little bit more focus, which is either the photo that's attached, like maybe another swipe on Instagram, the photo that's attached after the video, or maybe it's reading the caption or something along those lines. So it's a struggle for me when I think about marketing myself and our company, because I like words. I naturally am driven to words. I love writing. Most people are not me. Most people do not like sitting and reading 1,000-page books. And it's that challenge for me to not market to myself, but market to the people who actually need my services. And those people tend to like video. So it's getting me out of my comfort zone.
Good. Getting out of your comfort zone is always a good thing, and it always just leads to growth. So
Exactly.
You can get out of your comfort zone.
Exactly. Yeah.
Alrighty. Any other questions? Anything else that?
I was just thinking, because you had slightly touched on it, the amount of like templates that are available for you. Like, I mean, I know personally, I don't always use the exact templates, but I'll like steal ideas off of it and kind of spin and make it my own.
Mm-hmm.
But you're like, oh, that's a good thought to do that. And I feel like there are a lot of options for, again, the free version, which is super nice. But then there's like so many different templates that you can use. Like I have friends who are also in the creative space who use it for their resumes. Like you can kind of use it for everything, professional, for your, whatever it may be. So I think it's just a nice option to have for whatever, if you're moving careers or whatever it is. I feel like now you have to get real creative with your resumes, especially in the creative space, if you're moving jobs. But yeah, I just think that's important to note that you don't always have to come up with it from ground zero. Like you have the options of being able to pull from someone else.
It's a huge time saver. I mean, those brick walls are real. You hit them and you're stuck. I mean, so you had to go over and pull something. And I'm glad that you said something about like resumes and other forms of things. So I kind of showed you Canva Screen 2. Canva Screen 1, when you get in there, and especially if you're a newer user, Karen, this is really nice. They give you categories up top. So, hey, I'm in to make a resume. Hopefully you're not making a resume. But yeah, if you are looking for different features, they have a lot of those ready to go, pulled up. There's flyers.
Hey, right. I'm just going to share my screen. I have Canva up.
Okay, awesome.
I was poking around while you were talking.
So yeah, they have the flyers, they have the presentation. The presentations actually, that's something that I would like to look a little deeper into, because that certainly has some. It's essentially what I had done with the multiple pages, but it really gives you some different options that aren't photo or PowerPoint. It changed it up a little bit and give people a different option and a different look. But yeah, you can see that there's a ton of other things going on. Infographics. I've done not a lot of those, but I've definitely pulled some other infographics.
Your story. Oh, so is that like an Instagram story? Facebook story probably, and then Instagram story.
Mm-hmm. And then the one thing that those are nice too is those already gets your dimensions set. So it's already putting you in that vertical Yep, that vertical screen so
Mhm.
that people are displaying it properly and getting it all kind of native there.
Yeah, and so like I'm seeing, it looks like the free stuff is not moving, like it's not a video. So you'd be uploading that as a still in your Instagram story. But it looks like this is one benefit of Pro. If you go with Pro, then you have an animated thing already made for you, so it cuts down on time. But you know, you can also, we're talking about inspiration, you can make inspiration and just, you know,
Yes.
animate some of the
Because at that point you could go in and animate the text
items on
like we
here.
did in the demonstration today. So yeah, absolutely take that stuff for. Now the one thing that I would say is more the difference is like some of the images definitely that they a lot of times they're pulling from Pixabay is one of their biggest ones that they're pulling free images from, but they
Mhm.
are pulling probably Adobe stock and Shutterstock, and those are probably that's probably where they're getting their Canva Pro images.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
but if you're in there, if you're looking to create, if you already have the picture and you're looking to post that on Instagram and you're just simply looking for some sort of motion or you've taken a small video and you can trade that picture out, um, you know, the sky really can be the limit, even in the free version, and just use the pro version for inspiration.
Yeah, yeah. And that, I mean, there's all sorts of different categories in here and pre-done, you know, Easter, birthday, Father's Day. So all sorts of both pre-done aesthetics, pre-done grids, and I'm sure that they have this. I mean, I know they have this for more than just Instagram. So if you're just looking at like Facebook or LinkedIn, you have the same thing. But you basically have like a preset branding, visual, aesthetic element for you, and then like Corey did, you just switch out your brand colors. So it's pretty simple. Yeah, this is awesome. Well, so I want to move on from the demonstration. Thank you so much for that, Corey. That was hugely helpful. I think that was, I found it helpful, and I'm in marketing and I know Adobe, but I know Canva. So now that I know Canva, all this stuff is on Canva, I want to go play around with it. I'd like to move on to both the problem solving and best tips. So I'm going to start off with my best tip. We just talked about Shutterstock and Pixabay. Pixabay, is Pixabay free? I can't remember. Okay, so Pixabay is free. Pexels is another good one. Unsplash is another really good one. My problem with all of those is that everyone knows that they exist, and Shutterstock is really expensive. So I have a handful of Shutterstock licenses just for when like I really, really love that photo, or a client's like, I have to have that photo. We have a few Shutterstock licenses on hand, but we use them like maybe once or twice a year because they're so expensive. Instead, what we have is this one called Free Pick. And there's some that are free. Most of it is you have to buy an account, but is probably one of the least expensive ones out there. It's only if you do an annual, it's only $10 a month. So for us, it's like a no-brainer for us to just get a free pick license and download everything off of that. Because then you also don't have to do the copyright and all of that, the licensing. You don't have to, I forget what it's called, where you say where you got it from. Citation is not the right word, but it's like citation for visuals. Anyways, but they have all sorts of things. So let's say, I don't know, someone give me an example of something you're looking for. Like Karen, what's something that you're working on visuals? So you'd like to find a photo or
I always need money pictures.
Money? There's a lot of them. So what the thing I love about this one is it has both vectors and photos. So with the vector, this is where going into the Adobe suite is helpful. So I primarily, when I'm doing graphics, I primarily do them in Illustrator. So me having a vector file is very important. For those of you who don't know the difference between vector and the contrast, Corey, help me out here. Vector and anyways, the photo one.
Yeah, I would just
The
call them
vector
images.
image, you can essentially, what is it, Corey?
I would just call them images. That's
Images, okay.
yeah, images versus
There is a
vectors.
technical term, raster. There we go, vector
Oh,
and
yeah,
raster.
yeah. Yep.
With a vector file, that's your like Adobe Illustrator, your PDF files, your InDesign files, your EPS files, the ones that if you're printing a t-shirt or printing like a giant billboard or even like a smaller business card, that's the file that you send to your printer because they can get really, really high resolution. And the reason why you want a vector file is because of having, you know, like you have your 100 by 100 pixel image, like canvas, basically. Instead of saying like this pixel is colored this, like this pixel is colored red, this pixel is colored green, this pixel is colored teal. You have mathematical distances between the pixels. And so you are able to expand and contract much easier than you're blowing up an image or you're reducing it. So because it's based on mathematical equations, you design something once and you can export it at any size, no matter how many times you want. So for me, with what I do, I primarily use vectors. And so having just like downloadable vector assets and templates and stuff like that is critical for my job. But they also have a ton of images. So Karen, you're saying you wanted images. Here's someone who looks like they must be like in credit card debt or something if you're looking for that, or just like a standard stock image background of money, someone doing their taxes. They have stuff for that are in collections. So people like users or people who upload all of these assets, they'll put together stuff in collections. So let's say you want to look at finances. Well, here's a nice little grouping of all sorts of different money related, finance related things. So it's a really, really good asset. Speaking of templates, they have tons of templates. So like if you're looking for a business card template, you can find one you like. Some of them are in Photoshop format. Some of them are in Illustrator format. But again, it's that whole inspiration. You have like a springboard to launch yourself to where you want to go. So that's my tip. I love free pick. It's like the best investment that I think I've probably ever made with the business was getting this license. And so I want to pass that on to you guys. All right, any other problems to solve when it comes to visuals, graphics, best tips, anything like that?
I'll ask a question. So I'm working on a video to use for Facebook. It's in Adobe Premiere Elements. And so I don't know what resolution to export it with for Facebook. And I don't really understand resolutions all that much. So I have a hard time. Actually, that would be a topic that I would love to have at some point is how to decide what resolutions things are supposed to be. But for this particular video that I'm trying to get up Friday, Janet, should it be 720 or there's several choices. There's HD 720, HD 1080, HD, there's another HD 1080. I'm sure it's not 4K, that would be too big. Or should I go back to SDs? There's a SD 576 and an SD 480.
So you're gonna the lower that number goes, the grainier that your video is gonna end up. Now, with that being said, so when YouTube, Facebook, and things like that are talking about HD video, a lot of times they're giving you a 720 stream of that. So personally, I like to export it a 1080 and let Facebook or YouTube size it down as they're going to size it down. Even though I know that they're going to come out at closer to a 720, I think that it gives just a little bit crisper resolution and things like that. There's basically So
there's two 1080 choices. There's a 1440 by 1080, and then there's a 1920 by 1080.
1920. So that's going to get into your ratio. So everybody's on their cell phones these days. You want a 1920 or a 9:16 ratio, so you're 1920 by 1080 on this one. In Premiere, you can link them, so if you do want it to be in a 720, you can click the little, make them both relative based off of the ratio, so you can just change the bottom number to 720, and it would automatically rotate that top number to keep it in the same ratio if you decided to do that. But I personally, when I'm doing everything, what I just did, 1920 by 1080 is what I do.
And even for a web page, so like if I wanted to use the same video on my website, would I do a higher resolution or still keep it at the?
It would depend on how you're putting it on your website. So for us, I tend to do smaller things for our web sliders because that's a much smaller file that can be uploaded. If you're embedding a YouTube video into your website or you're putting something there, the sky's more the limit at that point. You can upload it to YouTube and just simply embed it into that site there.
So it would be better to use the higher resolution if you had more storage capacity. Is that what you're saying, basically?
Yes, ma'am. Yep. If
Okay.
storage isn't an issue, I would go with it as high as you possibly can, up to 1080. And so you can pull 4K stock and different things like that. So even when I'm working in something in 4K, and I'll blend them too. So I like having so 4K just is the same thing. So the 1080 is multiplied by 2, and that's going to give you 4K versus 2K or the 1080p or 1080i resolution. So even when I'm working with a 4K stock piece, those are nice because you can really get in, kind of like what Rebecca was saying with the vector file versus the raster file. You can get in a little bit deeper and you can size them up a little bit better. So you can zoom into a specific part of that video, or you could, just crop out some different things. But I still bring that down into a 1080 kind of export format.
So like I could save it to my hard drive in the 4
4K
version, and then and just use that if I need it. Like just save it for a backup file, like the best quality, and then use the 1080 most of the time.
So that just depends on your amount of storage capacity. I mean, if you've got a couple terabytes of external hard drive, yes, you can keep that 4K video. You can keep that 4K stock and export. Export the 4K, export the 1080. Those files do add up, and you would definitely need some storage capacity. If you've got
I don't have that many videos.
Sure.
Because I do everything. I mean, I might make one video a year.
Okay.
Maybe
And how
2.
long?
That's
How
all
long
I'm
are
going to
your
have time
videos?
for.
Sure.
This one's 2 minutes.
Okay. Yeah,
So-
you're going to be. They're large files because they're videos versus an image, but yeah, you definitely should have plenty of room for however you're saving it there.
Comparatively speaking, they're small. I would actually recommend that you would hang on to the actual Premiere file, because then you have basically like your raw document that you can pull stuff off of and export it different files later. So I'd keep the Premiere file over exporting a 4K.
Yeah.
The other thing to think about, because Corey mentioned the whole embedding versus uploading directly to your website. When you embed, the person who is viewing the video is not actually downloading the entire video to their browser. They're basically the browser is pulling from YouTube. So it's using YouTube's server capacity and everything, not the web server's capacity. And the caching file on the person's computer is smaller. The time it takes to fetch it is dependent on the YouTube server, which is a lot faster than a web server. So whenever possible, I always tell people upload it to YouTube and then embed in a website, because you can get better quality, things are faster, especially if people are on data, like on their phones and on data plans, and they don't have an unlimited data plan. You have to be really, really careful with video, because if they're pulling from YouTube, it'll often be less data than having to pull it directly on the website. And like, that's the other reason why I'm still cautious about using video on websites a lot, is because it takes up more space. YouTube serves stuff at a lower capacity if people are on data as opposed to being on Wi-Fi or on a website or on a desktop computer or a laptop. So you just have to be mindful of the data pull when you're putting stuff on a website and minimizing that as much as possible. So that's again where it's like Corey was saying, like, and again, if you really want to dive in depth, like Googling is probably the best way to answer your question. But just like in terms of real world experience, uploading at not the highest level, but like the highest that you need for the platform, and then letting everything else kind of figure itself out, and uploading it to platforms like Vimeo or YouTube where they figure it out for you is definitely the easiest way to figure out and get around all of this complicated techie stuff.
And YouTube will even downgrade. So if they've uploaded it in 720, but reception is spotty or there's a data issue, like Rebecca was saying, they'll drop it down to 480 if they need to. But then they're doing that. You've uploaded it, you've washed your hands of it, you've just sitting back for the analytics at that point.
Okay. So if I don't have time to maintain a YouTube channel, can I still just do it and not publicize it?
You can upload to YouTube and just embed, and you should probably, if you're not going to have a regular channel, just have it listed as private or linked. Is it unlinked?
Unlisted.
Unlisted. Thank you. Have it listed as have it labeled as unlisted, the privacy settings. So there's 3 or 4 different ones. There's like public, private, and unlisted. Okay, 3. And so you'll want it as unlisted, because then anyone who has the link can watch the video. So that means when you embed it, you're embedding the link in your website. And so people can watch the unlisted video because they have the link is being served through the website. But someone can't just, search on YouTube and find it. And if people go to your channel, the channel page will show no videos, no listed videos.
That's something neat too. You can use in combination with analytics as well. So if you've got an unlisted video on YouTube, you know where that traffic's coming if that video is only listed on your website. So even if you have, for argument's sake, 2 of the same video, you could upload one to YouTube, let it be a public video, and see how well that traction is going on YouTube, and have an unlisted version that you post to your website that you would have the same video that you're getting analytics on, but just the different forms of traffic and where it's coming from. So that's something that's neat. I personally, I use a lot of the unlisted videos just for that same reason. I can go in and see if they're actually working from the site or anything like that.
Mm-hmm.
Okay,
and, going back to analytics, if you see a lot of people are finding the listed video, the public video, then that lets you know, maybe you should start a YouTube channel. Not to add to your plate of things to do.
Right.
And YouTube's not entirely hard to manage as far as if you're going to get what you get out of it, or get what you put into it out of it. So to simply create an account and have a house for your data, that's the other nice thing, is if you have something on YouTube and you've exported it as a 720, you've uploaded it to YouTube, essentially you can delete that 720 file off your computer and have that storage back, and use YouTube as a free storage platform at that point. Again, keep your Premiere files and use those if you need to export something back, but it's a good way to free up space if you need something like that as well.
Mm-hmm.
So just to confirm it, so when I create this account, I'm listing each video as unlisted. Like I'm selecting each video as unlisted. So is there some kind of is there something for the full account that makes it public or not, or just
people will be able to see that you are a user, but they can't view any videos.
Okay. All right. Great. Thank y'all so much. That's fantastic.
Yeah. Any other comments, questions? Janet, do you have any?
No real comments or questions, though I have a word of caution, sort of, since we're talking so much about images and videos and stuff, because what I run into a lot are people thinking, does it really matter if I just snag something from Google?
Oh, yes.
And yes, Yes, it does. And I will tell you, because we had a news director at the radio station that just would go out and find stock art that he would use as featured images in news stories that he was posting on our website. And something as simple as a gavel on a judge's thing that said, and I don't even remember now what the word was, but it was something about a lawsuit that he was covering a news story for, cost the radio station $3,000. So, and it was from, I don't even know where this guy was that had taken this original photo, but an attorney contacted Andrew and said, we see this and it is on your website and you do not have our permission. There is no photo credit, all of the things. And so many people like, oh, the internet is so big. And, how is anybody really going to know? And I'm so small. Would they even bother with me? Yes. Yes, they will. And
had
they
clients
have,
come
and they have,
after.
yeah, they have done it right here in the Shenandoah Valley. So that's the thing. Don't think that you're too little or the internet is too big, because you can be found and you will have to pay.
I had a client who was out either 100 or $200,000 because they improperly used a license, and it had to do with the duration because they'd been using it for so long.
Yeah.
So yeah, very important.
This was they wanted originally $7,000, and Andrew negotiated them down to $3,000, and it was all because of and in this particular case, part of the problem was that this news director had been trained not to do what they did. I had that conversation. I had done a video. I had sent the policies for photos on the website. I had done everything I was supposed to do. They just took a shortcut because they were trying to get a story up and they were using their phone and they did a Google search. And so it is worth the effort to go where photos are legal. And even if you pay a yearly subscription, it is worth every penny that you pay for it.
Yeah. So that the ones that I mentioned about like Pexels and Pixabay, all those ones are free to use. That's the licensing that you're given, but I'd even be careful with those. So with those ones, when I use them for our clients, I make a record of, this is when we downloaded it. Here's a screenshot. This was legal when I downloaded it, because sometimes people will revoke their licenses, and they technically, it's like, if you're going to be sued, it'd be kind of tough to stand on. Technically, under the copyright, they have the ability to do that. But especially if you have documented, like, this was on a free site, I had the license when I downloaded it, it gives you some leg to stand on if you were taken to court. But I'm still really cautious about free stuff. This is the other reason why we got a free pick license. There's a couple resources I want to just share in the chat real quick. One is Creative Commons licensing. Read up on that, because so Creative Commons is an organization that kind of is helping to bring some method to the madness that is the internet when it comes to licensing and everything. So read up on Creative Commons licenses. That if you find an image on the internet and you see that little like CC logo that stands for Creative Commons, check and see what license the image is licensed under, and if it's under the proper commercial, like if you're using it for commercial application, you need to make sure that the licensing is for commercial. Otherwise, you're using it under an improper license and they can come after you. The second thing I want to show you, because I know it's tough to go through all of these free image things and find like the right one, and sometimes Google's easier. You can actually use Google. Just be really, 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 really careful about this, and like go to the website. Don't just copy it off, but go to the website and make sure you have the proper license. If you search for like dogs, and there's some really cute dog photos, go to tools and usage rights. And you can go with the Creative Commons license if you're not doing a commercial application, or again, if it's, the right usage. Otherwise, go to the commercial and other licenses, click on that. And Google tries to do it as much as possible, filter out the stuff that you can use. But even then, a lot of this stuff isn't properly labeled. So let's say you want to use this photo. you'd want to check and make sure that you can actually use it. And there's no actual like licensing on here. So if you wanted to use it, then you need to contact the website, say, hey, can I use this photo? Make sure they have the proper licensing, because that's one reason why this isn't super accurate. But you can find some good stuff through here. I found some not as well-known free photo sites by this method. But a lot of this stuff, I'd say probably like 90% of this isn't actually properly licensed. But it is a way, if you want to dig through and you're not finding that perfect photo, you've tried all other options, you don't want to pay Shutterstock or anything like that, then this is another option you can use. But again, be very, 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 very careful with doing this. Yeah.
Yeah, it gets hairy. It gets really,
It gets
really
really
hairy.
hairy. And as a creative, I definitely appreciate the licensing, and I have had a copyright stolen from me, and it was not fun. And either as someone who has like my art out there, I like that we have copyright laws and that we can go after people like this. But I also have been on the other side, the clients who have used stuff improperly, and I know what a headache is. So yeah, just avoid the headache and do it. So
Yeah, it gets more complicated too for us at the station, because
Yeah.
we allow people to submit events to go on our event calendar. So they're uploading a picture to go with whatever their event is. And I have to look at that and think, is that theirs? I reach out to them. So I've got a list now of people like Sustainability Matters. I know that Sorry, when she puts a photo for an event that she has already assured me someone in their organization has personally taken that photo. So she's on my approved list of photos to post. But the spaghetti dinners, the bingos, all of these nonprofits have no idea that they cannot just be using these random photos. And one day it's gonna come back to bite them. I just don't want them to bite the station in between.
Well, and you also have like extra rules because you broadcast. So
It's
that's an entirely different can of worms.
oh yeah, it's a whole thing. I had no idea, but it's a whole thing.
Yeah. Yeah. Alrighty. Well, we are now 4 minutes over. Sorry about that. But if there's any other wrap up questions or comments, feel free to send me an email, send Corey an email, post it on the Facebook group, which is kind of not really doing anything, but post it there and I will see it eventually. But yeah, thank you everyone. Have a good day.
See ya.